Good afternoon. I'm Palo Pierce from Eduporium. I just want to say hello. We'll get started here in a couple of minutes. I'd like to introduce you guys, everybody, guys and gals on the phone here, to Tim Tomaso, and Tim is for Wonder Workshop. And he will be the person who gives us a good overview of what's new in the Wonder Workshop area for the Dash, his neighborhood or her neighborhood, and all the different remote things that are out there. So we look forward to that. It has snowed in New Jersey.
Like I said, any day in December without snow is a blessing, but you know it's coming. So yeah, you guys out east, you know it's coming. I know it's coming here too. We'll sooner or later there'll be a foot of snow on the ground.
So Tim, you have no snow out there in Chicago?
We had snow the day before Thanksgiving. We got like an inch, maybe a half an inch, a good dusting, and then that's it. We haven't had snow since. So no, knock on wood. We're getting a break so far.
There was no teaching today because the kids were freaking out about the first snowfall. Well, I don't think it was just the kids. It was probably the adults too.
Yeah.
I was actually waxing my skis, but also my sleds.
I got to put gas in the snowplow. That's a good reminder.
Yeah, that is a good one. I did put gas in.
So I'm actually writing that down on a Post-it note and putting it on my phone because I will forget.
Good. All right, why don't we get started? Let me just share my screen and start. We'll get going here, okay?
Power all weekend too. Ouch.
Yeah. So good afternoon. My name is Palo Pierce. I think as I mentioned before, I am from Eduporium. I manage sales and marketing at Eduporium. And on the phone on the Zoom webinar with me, I also have Andy Lamar, who's our social media marketing manager, and also Ahmed Sharif, who's our marketing manager, director of marketing, excuse me. And basically, Eduporium, our focus as an organization is to provide access to vetted, innovative STEM educational tools. And one of our chief partners is Wonder Workshop. We have a close partnership with them. Tim has been great to work with. And as we know that you're very busy in your life today with the different things that you're challenged with, and we appreciate that. I want to thank you for that. And we thought we'd take, and we're going to be very cognizant of your time, and try to keep this to 45, 50 minutes, just a snippet, and if you need additional information or you have questions, you can do questions and answers on the webinar today or chat, and we'll answer them right away. If we can't answer them today, we will make sure that everybody will actually get a copy of the presentation, a copy of the slides, and Tim also has some additional documentation that he'll also cover. So that's it. So I'd like to kind of turn this over to Tim, and we'll get going, okay?
All right. Thank you, Palo. Let me share my screen. So we'll trade screens here. And just give me a thumbs up if mine's doing what it's supposed to be doing. Or just say yes. How's that? Orange screen? Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so that's me. That's the first slide. Let's go to the second slide. So first of all, thank you to the folks at Eduporium for putting this all together and for working as closely with me as you guys do. I'm a phone call away and we work very well together, and whatever it is we are doing, Eduporium is doing it with us, and they do a fantastic job working with our customers. So we'll continue that, and that's why we're here today for you guys. So what we basically want to show you is what we've been up to since COVID hit. And some of you may have actually seen a couple of slides on this presentation, because honestly, I've been giving this presentation since back in February and March when COVID first hit. We as a company, we make Dash, Dot, and Q, the robots that are as hands-on as robots come. You're supposed to be using them on the floor, in your classroom, with your students in small groups, and it's about as social and hands-on as it's going to be. Which posed us with a difficult problem as COVID hit. How are we going to get our curriculum and what it is that we do home to the students? We basically fast-tracked a project, something that we were using for marketing purposes, a digital Dash robot that was going to run around and do little commercials and things like that for us. And we changed that around. We basically said it is time to put a virtual robot into our apps so that kids can code and do our curriculum without a physical robot. And COVID showed us that it was going to be necessary right away, so we fast-tracked that project, and this is basically what we're coming up with. Now, as back to school came back, and we didn't want to talk about back to school. This slide is probably a little dated with cohorts and things like that. A lot of schools, all schools around me are closed again. I don't know where it is in your part of the country, but it's probably similar across the board. Some of the schools are still back, but it's a mess right now, and it's not consistent, and everybody's got a different situation. So it's whatever it is we were going to put together was going to have to work not only at home, but in the building and every combination in between. A solution that we came up with, what we call Dash's Neighborhood in the Class Connect system, was going to have to be a couple of things if it was going to work. We did our research with what was available out there as far as online programs and coding went, and we came up with a few things. First and foremost, it had to be blended. I mentioned it once or twice already. Has to work at home, has to work in the building, has to work in between, and should be seamless in its transition. So I will show that to you a little bit later, how easy it is to go from the physical robot to the virtual robot. Solutions that provide easy but anytime, anywhere access. By this being web-based and put on a web page, the kids who have an internet connection can access it from pretty much any device. Provided you have enough screen space. It's a little bit more difficult on a phone. That being said, it can be done, but we would prefer that the kids are using some other device besides a phone, but it'll work from just about anything. The solutions had to be learner-centric, engage the students, motivate them at home. If you're familiar with our robots, with our solution, you know how jazzed the kids get when they start working with them. They're actually difficult to pull away from the students. A lot of times when I train teachers, I tell them you should do this before recess, or you should do this before lunch, or maybe the end of the day when you're putting the kids on the bus, because it's got to be something that holds on to them. So, when we put our solution together for online virtual, it had to have that same personality, it had to have that same hook, had to keep the kids engaged, and we feel that we have done that. The solution had to allow the teachers to track and provide support from wherever they might be. You might be teaching from your classroom, you might be teaching from home, you might be teaching from who knows where. Your students are all in different locations. You need to be able to support them. We've put that together to make it easy for you to send resources home as well. And even solutions that provide the parents with some knowledge and tools as well. We've even put together like little crash courses online, which I'll show to you in a minute, that can show the parents how to use our robots, how to access our virtual curriculum online. And if the students did get stuck, they would actually be, something you could lean on. You'd have a parent at home to help you out if you ever got stuck. So as I mentioned, on our website, if you go to makewonder.com and you click on the home learning toolkits, you're going to see all the resources that we pretty much put together that we've had in various places. They've all been, placed on one web page for either the teachers or for the parents. These are basically activities that you can do at home, where coding is the knowledge base that you're working on, but a lot of these are non-screen activities, simple little activities that you could put together, whether you're a parent or a teacher at home. So it's all free. That's just sitting there on our web pages, easy to check out, and a lot of information, all done with the Wonder Workshop theme. So Dash and Dot are going to be all over it, but it's stuff you can do at home in addition to what I'm going to be showing you a little bit later on. Okay, so connecting your students to our coding stuff is this video. I'll show you this video because it's short. The other one's a little bit long. So Class Connect is our learning management system that is basically for the Dash and Dot robots. Class Connect is a pretty simple learning management system that you're going to access by simply logging into the web page. So I'm at portal.dash.com. shop.makewonder.com, and I obviously have a subscription, so I'm able to access all the tools here. But this is the splash page that you would log into, whether you're subscribing to our Class Connect, whether you are one of our Wonder League robotics competition participants. Anybody who has access is going to come to this particular dashboard where you have access to all the tools that we're going to be discussing today. And the first one I want to show you is the Blockly dashboard. And this is Class Connect. This is how we keep track of what our students are doing as they go through our puzzles and challenges in our block coding app. All the puzzles and challenges in the block coding app are free. And basically, by setting up your students into a classroom, you're going to have a classroom full of students. I should have showed you my classroom first. So here's my classroom. Everything's based on this teacher code. This teacher code is going to be fed into your devices. So your iPads, your Chromebooks, whatever machines you are using to work with your Dash and Dot robots, you will simply need to put a code into them. As you access the Blockly program, you're going to place this code in, and this will connect those devices to a teacher account. If I look at my teacher account, this is my classroom. You can see a bunch of students here on the left. The only thing that the students are going to see on their devices is their first name and their last initial, but I can set this up any way I want to. I can give each student an icon, color code them. I can add multiple students through a CSV file. I can add one student at a time if I want to. I can share this classroom with another teacher who has a subscription. It's basic learning management software. It's going to put the kids in alphabetical order, but that's basically it. And these are the students that are going to be in my classroom when a student tries to work with the Blockly program under my subscription. So if I go back to the dashboard, what you're going to see are my students and the progress that they have been making so far in the Blockly puzzles for the Dash robot. I'm going to scroll across here a little bit because there's a lot of content built into the Blockly app. There's 72 challenges in here, 79 challenges, I should say, built in for the Dash robot alone. And these challenges are built in to basically teach you how to move the robot, how to use all the different actions that the robot's capable of, all the different tools that the robot has, each button, the sensors, the lights, the sound, the recording, playback, all of that is introduced along with the 6 basic building blocks of coding. So you're going to learn what a sequence is, what a variable is, a loop, a conditional. All those things are going to be introduced as you go through all these little puzzles and make your way through. A green check mark tells you that the student has completed that particular lesson. The white box is telling you which lesson they're going to move on to. It's usually the next one. And an orange exclamation mark is going to tell you that a student actually got stuck or did not complete this lesson satisfactorily. So if I open up by clicking on that cell, I'm going to get a bunch of information here that I can utilize to see how the student's doing. I can see the solution that the student put together and how much time that particular student worked on this solution. And looking at what they did here, I can see it was just a matter of dragging this eye pattern up into the when button here, and that would have done the trick. I could see the solution over here on the right, so I know exactly where the student went wrong. And they may have just run out of time or got confused or sidetracked, whatever the case may be. But if I wanted to share more information with them, if I was in a situation where the student was at home and they looked like they were confused, they got stuck in a spot where I didn't want them to get stuck and I needed to get them more information, I hit the More button here. I can send the lesson home as a link or a PDF. I can zoom in on our challenge cards, and those of you who are familiar with our products, challenge cards are the 72 set box set, and we have specific challenge cards for this. This is a sequence lesson, so I'm zooming in on the very first set of challenge cards in lesson A. I've got my online lessons that are linked here for practicing sequences, the concepts that the kids are working on currently, cross-curricular connections if you're looking for an activity to give the kids to work on, and of course the computational thinking skills that they're doing. So this is available for every single one of the lessons, no matter where the students are, and it allows you to give them feedback. You can even get ahead of your students and say, okay, next week we're going to be doing the terrible toll of trepidation, so I'm going to click on the first lesson and take a look at what I'm up against here with the kids. So I'm using variables at this point, so we're introducing a new tool. A variable is like a bag that holds a number that you put into it. Right? So I'm going to teach the kids about variables, and I've got a solution here. I've got the walkthrough. I can see the lesson online or PDF if I want to send it home early. I know which challenge cards we could focus on to practice this further. I can look at the online lessons and see how I want to extend it. And of course, maybe a cross-curricular connection as well to see if we want to do some of this in math later on. So that is all provided to you as part of the format. It not only does this for the dash puzzles, but it also does this for all the dot puzzles. And for those of you who don't have dot robots or do, there's a whole bunch of content in here as well, and it's going to track that. So all this is available with a simple subscription. Basically, the teacher gets a code, and this is available for 1 year from the point where you start it. And this is how you track all of the students' progress as they work their way through the puzzles. So I'm going to pause for a moment and ask anybody there over at Eduporium if there's questions I should answer now before I dive into Dash's neighborhood.
Tim, this is Palo. Right now, I don't see any additional questions or chats or anything like that I think you can move forward.
All right, that's because I'm so darn good at explaining this stuff, man. All right,
it's exactly the case. It's exactly the case.
Yeah, that's what it is. All right, so if I'm on the teacher dashboard here, and again, my teacher code, this is all my information in my class, there's a button here that says Launch Blockly. So I can launch Blockly right from here if I need to jump in it as an instructor, but your students would probably do this by going to a web page. So I would simply go to code.makewonder.com. And this is our splash page. And you're going to see that both the Q program for our 6 to 8 audience and the elementary school product, Dash and Dot, are available from this page. So I'm going to go right into Dash and Dot here. And because it knows this is me, it's going right into my classroom. And if you have your classroom set up as an instructor, this is what your students are going to see after their devices are connected. Okay, is a list of that same list of students that were in my portal. You'll see them here on the left-hand side. That same list of students, I can't reach the top of my page, there it is now available for the kids to pick and choose from. So what we ask is that they find their own profile, preferably theirs, not somebody else's, and they click in there to continue with their projects, or their puzzles, whatever they're working on. So I'll click on Dan here, just randomly. And you can see when I pop in there that I've got access to the puzzles, I've got access to any projects that Dan has previously created, or I can create a new project if I want to go into to do that. We recommend that you start with the puzzles. It's the best way to introduce the kids to our curriculum, to the robots, to what they're capable of doing, and quite honestly, to introduce them to Dash's neighborhood as well, which I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to pop right into puzzles. And you can see I'm not very far in this particular one. And I did that on purpose because some of the longer lessons don't go very well. They take too long. So I'm going to go through the shorter ones now. But here I am. We'll just pop into Unit 1 here. So this is driving school. This is how we learn how to make the robot move left and right, forward and back, that sort of thing. Pretty simple stuff, right? So what you're going to get now is a little vignette of Dash's neighborhood. I'm not sure how well this is, it's actually playing pretty smooth on my machine, so you guys are probably seeing it pretty well here. But this is what our engineers and our creative team have put together. A little neighborhood for Dash to run around that is appropriate for Dash, and this is where he hangs out. This is the virtual tool. And what you're getting is just a quick fly around view of him that I can end at any point in time. There's a skip button in there, but I like watching it once in a while. So once I'm through the vignette, I am now back into the Blockly program. And if you're familiar with Blockly, what you'll see that is different is the right-hand side of my screen, where you're going to see me looking at a Dash robot in Dash's neighborhood. And I'm doing a puzzle right now. So if I pull those instructions back up, I would see press the start button on the bottom left of your screen to get Dash going. This is lesson 1. So the code is already built. I have access to no tools. We're kind of forcing the kid's hand here, but we're showing them where the play button is on lesson 1. So I hit the play button in the lower left-hand corner. And Dash does his thing exactly as Dash would do his thing if there was a physical robot here. And I would move on to lesson 2, which is basically asking me to teach Dash to drive forward. So again, pretty easy stuff. We're doing sequences right now, but what I'm learning right now is that these little tools I can drag and drop, and they actually snap together until I pull them apart. So they're easy to drop into place. Again, I have no access to tools on the left. We're forcing the kid's hand to go through this in a very simple manner. So now we're learning how to make the robot go forward. So I press play, and Dash goes forward, and there you go.
Yeah.
Good job. I figured out this part of the lesson. More importantly, this is being tracked here as we go along. Now I'm redoing lessons that I already forgot who I was working with here, Keith or Jay or Dan. It was Dan. I'm already doing lessons.
Dan.
Thank you. I'm already doing lessons that he has done. So obviously I'm repeating them. It's not showing me progress. But as soon as I start moving forward, those green check marks are going to come up in real time. So it's pretty easy to see where your students are going, how quickly they're moving. And you can even come in here and lock them in and out if you want to. You can reset their progress. You can unlock challenges. I recommend for those of you who push this out to the kids at home that you do lock them down, that you only allow them to do 10, 12, 20 lessons in a day or in a week or whatever, but you give them a hard point in there, or they will go through and do every single one of them. They will treat it like a video game. They will try to get to the end. They will stay up all night. They'll drive their parents crazy, and they'll go all the way to the end, and then you won't have a lot of lessons to share with them later on.
Hey,
So,
Tim,
yes.
two things. Can you show how to lock the lessons? Just because I think that's been a question.
Absolutely. So if I want to reset the progress, I would select a specific student, let's say Dan here, and I would select a challenge that he's already completed and basically reset it. So driving school 1 was the first one I was doing. I'm going to reset that and close this out. It should reset him all the way back to level 1.
Okay.
So, and if I want to, unlock challenges, I will select the same student and decide how far I want that student to go. And I'll say the end of driving school and you're done. And I will unlock those, close it out, and it should turn them all white up until the 12. So he has access to the first 12 lessons, but when he tries to get to Dash the Snowman, he's going to meet with a hard stop. So that's how we go about doing that. And it's pretty easy to do. You just go in and reset or unlock. So pretty simple stuff there. Okay.
Hey, one last question, just while we're here, because I know you're going to go back to Dash's neighborhood, which I want to hear so much more about. So, how do you handle kids who might be a pre-reader or something like that, or a student who can't read? Is there anything the way Class Kinetic is set up to handle someone like that?
I would probably encourage that student to play a little bit. I would maybe have a little free time for that student. Let them, the buttons are all color coded. And even somebody who doesn't read, I've showed this to preschoolers before, they will understand after a while that the drive buttons are all green, that the look buttons are all blue. They start to correlate the color to the command, and they start to get a better feel for it. If they can spot an F and a B for forward and backwards, that usually gets them going, and they figure the rest out on trial and error. So don't be afraid to show this to non-readers or students who are struggling to read. By trial and error, they will unlock everything and figure it out. They'll amaze you. Even if they can't spell forward or backward, they're still going to figure that out pretty quick.
Good. And then one last question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you support other languages? I know that Wonder Workshop does support that, but how does that work with this? Particularly if they've got, kids with Spanish or some other.
Absolutely. Dash and the Blockly app speak 7 different languages. What is it? It's German, French, Mandarin Chinese, Spanish. I should write that. That should be posted somewhere in this room. It speaks a bunch of different languages. It's on our website. You can search languages under the FAQs and it'll pop up. But basically what you do is you switch your device to that language.
Yep.
If I switched my device to Espanol, Blockly is going to pick up on that. And everywhere where you see English written, it's going to switch to Espanol.
Good. And then just one more question, and then I'm sorry I'm flowing you off here, but
go ahead.
These just throw you off. Hey, what happens if it's a family setting? So, it's a parent who has a couple kids and, gets a Class Connect. Are they able to kind of do something like this, kind of like in a learning pod or whatever you want to call it?
Most certainly. We actually sell a smaller SKU for the coaches of our competition to get in. I think it's 1 teacher and like 3 kids.
Okay.
It's very reasonably priced. It's for a shorter period of time and obviously less amount of students. So we could get that to somebody rather easily. So if you're teaching at home and you got a couple of kids, or like you said, a learning pod, we'll address that and come up with a price that makes sense. So yeah, we can do that sort of thing and keep it small.
So they can use that one package you have for the Wonder League, correct? Is that
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's called a Coach's Success Pack. Look that one up. Yeah.
Okay.
Coach's Success Pack.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry.
No. That's good. Okay. So continuing, the beauty of the neighborhood here is what it allows you to do. Not only can I do the puzzles, so all of our curriculum is now in here and ready to go. Every single one of the lessons is in here, and the robot can complete each one of them virtually. Even when you're using the sensors, even when you're recording and playing back, all the different things that the robot is capable of doing, we are capable of doing in the virtual environment. Now, I'm going to go back to the splash page here, and I'm going to hit the Create New button, because this is what a student would do if they were creating their own project, whether they were at home, in the building, somewhere in between. But let's say they're at home and they're creating a project that they want to share with you when they're done. So you've given them a set of criteria. Maybe you've drawn a map of the classroom and you want them to go around the furniture. Maybe you've drawn a map of the school and want them to, I don't know, trace the fire exit route, or where they go for a tornado drill, some sort of path that they want to track that's going to have right turns and left turns and maybe an angle or a pause and things like that. So you give them a set of criteria, you send it home as a PDF, and the students sit down in front of their machines and say, okay, I got to figure out how to get Dash around 3 obstacles and then sprint him back to a door, or whatever the case may be. So I'm going to go to my tools. What you'll notice here when I'm in create mode is that all my tools are available. So, let's say that the robot's got to go forward as far as he can go. I'm going to have him go 100, and then he's going to turn right and go out the doorway, and then he's got to go forward again. Oh, let's say 70 or 80 here. And then he's going to look both ways, and he's going to turn on his lights, just because I want to do something other than just look around. So I'll turn on some lights too. And then we'll do an animation, because we'll turn on the fire siren and the lights. Then we'll do an animation, and then he'll laugh. Okay. So I've built a really simple sequence here, right? Really simple stuff. But the robot, if I was connected to a physical one, would do all this on the floor, and the kids would see it move forward and then turn to the right and then move forward again and then look around, and its lights would come on and all that. We had to mimic that as best we could in the virtual world. And if you watch, you'll see how closely it's actually exact, down to the movements in the animations and everything else. Here we go. You can see the little green light lighting up in my sequence, telling me which step it's doing. Sorry. So the robot mimics everything down to the expressions and how it wiggles and makes its head go up and down when it's laughing. That is absolutely identical to what it would do with a physical robot. I have some capabilities here, even in the 3D window itself. If I hit the expand button here, I can see everything in a much bigger screen. I can use the arrows on my keyboard to just drive around and explore. There's actually a few Easter eggs in here. I only know where one of them is. This little pad here, if I stand on it, something happens to the goat, right? He sprays the goat with that thing. Yeah, there you go. So there's a bunch of little Easter eggs in here. The engineers tell me there's 13. I've found like 3. So I've got some more exploring to do, but you can run around and see the world if you want to. I can even use my mouse to zoom in on the robot, spin around the robot, zoom out, get a bird's eye view if I want to, get on top of the robot while I'm moving it around. There's a lot of different things you can do. For those of you who are part of our competition or are planning on being a part of our competition, you know that we use a competition mat to complete all of our activities on. Either you design one yourself or you use one of the ones that you got from us, but we've actually included the means of putting the mat out into the space. So this is the Wonder League mat from this year. You superimpose it on the space, so all the activities that we give out during the competition, you are capable of doing right here in the virtual environment. So even as I move the robot around, I can keep track of how far I'm going. I've got my grid here. It's a 10-centimeter grid. The big thick lines are at every 30-centimeter increment. So I have the capability of doing the work here in the competition right here on my screen. Now, where things get a little bit tricky is usually when we start adding in the sensors, right? When Dash hears somebody talk, let's have Dash say something a little bit different. He'll say hi. So he's got to hear a voice, okay? What you'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen, there's a robot input in here. So I have to mimic a voice in this environment when I press play. So in order to do that, he's still going to go through all of his little motions here, so we got to wait for that to happen first. But once I get to the point in the program where I decide to mimic a voice, after the siren and after the laugh, because they're very loud. Oh yeah, right down to the lights in his LEDs. That's so cool. So now if he hears a voice, which I will mimic a voice,
Hi.
there's the voice, he can say hi. So any input that I put in there, if I decide I want it to be when he sees an object in front of him, if I hit play and say there's an object in front of you,
Hi.
he would say hi. So I have the ability to even include things like recording and playing back, playing with the sensors. We can use the proximity sensors, we can use the IR sensors, we can use the record and playback mechanism. All that is built in, so every single puzzle that we can do, every single tool that's included are basically opened up into the virtual world so that we can explore and, more importantly, continue our curriculum. Get the kids through the lessons that teach them how to code, whether they're at home or whether they're in the building. So that was the goal of the virtual neighborhood. It works very well for that. So what I basically recommend to the teachers who are trying to push this out at home is that you set up your classroom, and again, Eduporium has all the directions for that. It's pretty easy. Right now, there's a 30-day free trial. The day you turn it on, you'll have a full-on month, 30 days to work with your students for free. We can take that subscription. You just call Eduporium and tell them, all right, I've used it. It's awesome. I want to continue to use it. Please set me up for a year, and we will roll your trial right into a paid subscription so your students stay in your classroom. They continue and pick up right where they left off. Nobody has to lose any progress if you decide to go from a free trial to a paid subscription. So you can push this out at home. What I tell the teachers to do is, after they finish driving school, your kids know how to move a robot around and how to turn left and turn right and measure distances. So you can have them creating geometric shapes. You can have them create a program and simulate anything that you want them to do that has to do with basic movement. After you move around a little bit longer and do some more puzzles, you're going to understand how to record and play back. You're going to understand how to use the sensors. So now you can make more complicated activities for the kids to work their way through. Think mazes, think obstacle courses, think simple, one-word knock-knock jokes, that kind of thing, where the kids are interacting with the robot, even in the virtual sense, and then taking the program and either passing it along to you or coming back to school and hooking it up to their physical robots. Ooh, that's what I forgot to show you. So let's do that. Hooking up to a physical robot. If the kids are in the virtual environment and want to go to a physical robot, I'm going to turn one on here, but I'm going to take the balls out of the ball launcher first because I know better. So I'm going to turn on Wally here.
Hey, Tim, while you're doing that, one other quick question, just to it's kind of related. How about if you want to use the gripper or the launcher, etc.? How do you put those things into the virtual robot?
Okay, two-part answer. Number one, none of the accessories are included in our basic curriculum. So you can go through all of our lessons and all of our challenge cards without any accessories. Number two, the second part to the answer is they are coming soon. They're going to start with the sketch kit because that's the easiest one to engineer, to get lines drawn on the screen as you move around so you can see the shapes that you draw. The catapult and the xylophone and things like that Our engineers tell us they're going to be able to do it. How long it takes them and how soon that's actually available is anybody's guess, but they're very good at what they do. So they pushed this out in a month. So who knows how quickly they'll have that ready to go. But the second part to that answer is coming soon.
Okay, perfect.
All right. So physical robot in my hand, turned on. This is Wally. I'm in a virtual robot on my screen. Upper right-hand corner, there is a plus button, which is how you connect a robot if you were doing it normally. So when I hit plus, my computer is basically saying, would you like to connect to the robot that's on? Yes, please pair to the robot. Once I have paired to the robot, it will tell me you're going out of the simulator. I say continue, and you'll notice now that the simulator is gone from my screen, but I'm gonna put action on the floor. Oh, give him a little bit of room to run and hit play. And off he goes, doing his thing on the floor just as quickly as he would have been virtually. Oh, he's going to run into something there. Oh, maybe not, just short. And he's going to make some noise back there. So he's doing his thing as quickly as he would be if I was connected to the virtual robot. So I just hit stop. If I want to go back to the simulator, I just hit enable simulator and turn my robot off. And we're right back to the virtual environment without missing much of a beat at all. So
hey, Tim, maybe I missed that, and sorry, I can be fixed sometimes. So the student would have done that code, which is in the left-hand corner, correct? And now you, as the teacher, could have a you could have an actual robot, and you what did you do to run their program? I'm sorry, I missed that. Was that the plus?
That was the plus. That was me connecting to the physical robot. Now, if the students are able to connect to a physical robot, that makes this transition easy. If the students are going to be at home for the next month or two and you're not going to be seeing them, then it's a little bit trickier, but still not that difficult to do. You're going to use the tools in the upper left-hand corner, and you're going to give this program a name. Oh, I'll just say this is Tim program number 2 or something, right? And okay, so that is now the project that I have. I can actually take that project and upload it or share it with somebody, and there's the project key. So when I take my program and I'm done with it and I'm ready to pass it along to my teacher, I save it and I create a program key. If anybody there has a Blockly program running and you put in the letters YPHH and hit enter under the program key, you're going to get that little program that I just put together, which is nothing special. But more importantly, what it shows you is that you're capable of taking a program that the students create at home and allowing them to simply send you this 4-letter code. Sometimes there's numbers in there, but it's a 4-digit code. And they send that to you, and you're able to pull up their program, whether you connect it to a physical robot to grade or whether you connect it to your virtual robot to grade. Either way, you're going to have the student's program as they wrote it ready for you to give feedback to, if that makes sense. I hope it did.
Yeah, so that basically you could assign them a task or whatever, and they would give you a code back as a teacher, and you could, test how many, who did it the best, et cetera, or who completed the task.
Absolutely right. When COVID first hit, it was the end of the Wonder League competition. We were in the championship round back in March this year. Most of the kids who were working on our competition were students at a school in a group, and they were no longer meeting in school. So what we were witnessing as we were grading the final presentations was the teacher with the robot either at home or in the classroom, the kids in a Zoom meeting with the Blockly app on their devices. Basically, every one of them had a code, and they were trying all the different codes until they got it to work, and then writing down what they got, saving it, and moving on to the next part. So we saw it in its rawest form back in March, but that's basically what the teachers are doing. I'll bring the physical robot home because I have access to it in the building, even if the kids don't, and I can do a lot of what you guys are doing here physically on the floor in the house or in the classroom, and the kids are basically sending the programs to check for understanding and whether or not they are able to solve the problem. Does it require a little more effort than doing it physically in person in the classroom? Yeah, probably. You're going to put in a little bit more computer time to do it, but the kids are going to learn just as quickly as they do in this environment as they do in the physical environment. And the beautiful part is how seamless it is so that the day you do go back to school, which we're hoping is coming sooner rather than later, the kids will have access to their physical robots, all the programs that they were working on. They can go right back to the physical robot and pick up from there. And when you have a combination of the two now, you're back in a classroom with this capability and your physical robots. Well, now you can have sandbox sessions where the kids can absolutely try and program before they ever touch a physical robot, where they're in here trying all their different programs and seeing if it's going to work. This is their test environment. This is where they run all their programs before you even give them the physical robot and send them off to the net to try and solve the maze or whatever. This makes an excellent presentation tool. If you put this on your overhead projection system from your iPad, from your Chromebook, and you want to walk the kids through whatever it is you're doing that particular day, you want to have an example for them, you want to have a sample ready for them, this gives you the means of showing that without having to get the robots out or put them on the floor. If somebody else is borrowing your robots or it's not your day to use the robots, you still have access to them through the virtual tools.
Cool. So Tim, just to kind of summarize, so this would work not only in a remote environment, but actually when you bring it back in the classroom, they could assign, not only use it as a display, but also use it for homework and things like that.
Absolutely. Homework is, in my youth, when I was teaching architectural and engineering classes, most of the software that we used wasn't available to the students. It was too expensive. It took up too much room on your computer. Kids didn't have access. At one point in time, those companies finally got smart, made smaller versions, student licenses, and started getting that information out to the kids. Before you know it, all the kids had access to the software. What that meant for me as an instructor was my kids could go further. My kids could do more. I could actually ask them to work on something over a weekend and bring it back during winter break, during spring break, and say, hey, you know what? You've been working on this. Let's see if you get this far over the time you've got off and bring it back to me on Monday, and let's take a peek at what you're working on there. And you could do that sort of thing. This provides that same environment. You can push the kids that much further to work on their own, to work in their free time, to assign them some work overnight, and come back with better understanding of what they're going to be tackling in the morning.
Great. Hey, got a couple questions, Tim.
Yeah.
First, Google does Dash Neighborhood integrate into Google Classroom?
We have finished our first integration, which is the Clever integration.
Okay.
Google Classroom is coming soon. Clever, we were told, was the most difficult one to do, so our engineers tackled that one first. That is working now. We know we can sign you up through Clever without much of an effort. So Google Classroom and the rest of the system shouldn't be far behind.
Okay. Next question. You've talked a little bit about that there's a demo version available right now for 30 days, right? That they can go online to get. You talked about how there's a Wonder League kind of teacher one where they can buy a license for themselves and 2 or 3 students or you. What is the actual pricing for Class Connect in general?
Okay, there's basically 2 price points. The first one is for a teacher and 1 classroom. So 1 teacher, 1 classroom is a $395 a year purchase. 1 classroom for us is 35 students. If you have more than that, you're probably going to have to reach out to us so that we can make arrangements to adjust that. If it's a couple of people, it's not an issue usually. If you've got 40 or 45 kids in your classroom, well, God bless you for 1, but for 2, we'll have to figure something else out for you. The second price point comes in when you are going to include the entire school. If you are going to the second price point, it means you're either going to have 2 or up to 25 teachers. And at that point, we stop counting students. We just put all your students into the system, and we don't care how many students you have. At that point, you're paying per teacher. So there's 2 larger SKUs that include the whole school and are either for 2 teachers or up to 25 teachers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for me it does. If there's additional questions, we'll handle it. So basically, if they buy the $395 Class Connect, it's 1 teacher and 35 kids, and there's a little room for a couple. But if it's 4, they need to contact us jointly, and we'll work through it.
Yeah, we'll work it out. Absolutely.
Yeah, keep going. There might have been one more question. Oh, in general, the Class Connect software that you've been showing here, it works because it is in the cloud, correct?
Correct.
It's completely in the cloud. So it's accessible for any device that can basically use a browser, or is there any constraints on that?
We are told any device that can use a browser. That being said, there are some schools out there, and count your blessings, teachers, there are some schools out there using some really old devices that don't have proper Bluetooth, don't have proper connectivity. Those are going to be a struggle. But pretty much anything where you can access a web page that was built in the last, let's say 4 or 5 years, you should be okay with.
Cool. All right, let me just look at this. And oh, the challenge card sets, right? You know, I know you mentioned them on the online version. Yeah. Do they have access and they're in Class Connect and they don't have the challenge cards?
I will tell you a secret. Come, I think this summer, these are going to be digital and they are going to be included in the Class Connect subscription. So they will be part of, you will have the capability of pulling these up digitally and spitting these out as lessons as well. I see the benefit in having them in the classroom. Those of you who have them know, you know, that I can put out 3 or 4 of them at a station and say, you guys go work on sequences over there. I can put 3 or 4 more at a different station and say, you guys go work on functions over there. So they definitely pay dividends in the classroom. They're built for that purpose. They're laminated. They're, you know, in a nice little set and everything here. So they're very beneficial when you've got them in the room, and they're included in all our bundles. But the need for them to be digital in today's environment is necessary. I know they're working on it, and I'm told, you know, there's not going to be an ISTE this year as there usually is during the summer of a normal year, but that's when we usually announce new stuff. So I would imagine sometime towards the end of this school year, we'll be announcing that all this content is available digitally as well.
So basically digital maybe later this summer, but in the meantime, if they needed Class Connect, they could buy the teacher set, and then they could also buy the actual challenge cards. And I don't have the rough price in front of me. Do you know off the top of your head?
These are $39.99 for the box set, I believe. Might be.
And I know Educorium has plenty in stock because I saw a bunch of them. There's over 50 of them in stock because I was wondering.
These are a lifesaver. I use these all the time. You can tell my box is all banged up because it travels with me a lot and I take it everywhere I go. Because when a kid gets too far ahead and they want to go on to the next thing, but the rest of the class is still working on that thing, sometimes you got to pull this out for those kids who are too far ahead, not necessarily the ones who are, you know, lagging behind a little bit, need some extra practice. Most certainly it'll help for that. But if you've got a kid who's, oh, I already know how to do that, I already know how to do this, you skip a couple steps ahead in the challenge box, give them a couple of cards and send them over someplace where it'll keep them busy for a little while so you can concentrate on working with the rest of the class. They come in handy. I use them all the time. So yes. Yeah,
and we love them, the fact that they're not electronic. You can just hand them out, and we're a big proponent of them. And the idea of splitting them out across a classroom and in stations is great, and we've seen it effectively. Oh, one last question. You can keep going. Someone wants to know if they could, do you have shirts? You know, they love your shirt. So, you know.
I have 2 work shirts. I got a long sleeve one and I got a short sleeve one. And this, I think, honestly, this is probably the first time this has been out off the hook in the hanger for 6 months. You know, because we haven't done a trade show. We haven't done you know, I haven't been on site training anybody. I haven't been to, you know, a company to train reps. All that's all just canceled, you know.
Well, I think you should talk to Mike and see if he has any more, maybe for some special customers.
There you go. That's right.
So, Tim, what else do you have to talk about today?
Well, I will tell you that, like I said, the things that are forthcoming that are going to be available in Dash's neighborhood, I have only seen peeks and glimpses of. But actually, if you tuned in for the Hour of Code live seminar webinar that Brian Miller, our head of education, did yesterday, he unveiled objects. He was able to place cubes and spheres onto the floor of the Dash's neighborhood on the mat and was navigating around them. They haven't unlocked that for us yet. I don't know how Brian got access to it, but that is coming. And if Brian has access to it, that means it's coming very soon. So eventually you'll be able to place objects into Dash's neighborhood, and that opens up a whole new avenue of projects and challenges that can be kind of, you know, the teacher put them together. I just threw 3 objects down and had the kids work their way around them or push them from one location to the other. All those kind of activities that we would normally do with the kids challenge-wise that are down and back back or gathering objects, those are going to be available, in Dash's neighborhood as well, which is pretty cool. I know we're in the final couple weeks of registration for the Wonder League competition. Again, that's all virtual this year. I know a lot of folks who would normally be in our competition aren't doing it this year because they can't be with their kids. We would suggest registering anyway. You'll get the content. The content is based on sending it out virtually, so it's good content to send out to the kids. And if you've been in our competition, even if you decide not to compete, you're still going to have access to all the content. So it's free of charge. You can do that from our website. Register for the competition. You'll have a lot of information sent your way that is free of charge.
Great.
That's, I think, all I got, unless we want to complain about the local football team some more.
We're not going to, we have a different audience, a diverse audience here, but just a last call for any questions or chats or anything like that. We are going to send out we've had someone watching it. So we are going to send out, there is one question. Can you show how to impose the mats on a virtual environment?
I'm doing it right now. Let me share the screen right here. Are you seeing my screen?
We are.
Okay. So when I go in here, the button that looks like a little camera, there's 4 buttons down here in the lower right-hand corner. The one that looks like a little camera on a stand, when I pop that button, that's when the mat comes into play, and we'll jump down on the screen. The minute I click on it again, it puts the mat away and takes me back to whatever position I was in with the robot. Again, you can use your mouse to zoom around and zoom in and zoom out, but the little camera button is where you're going to get the map to come up on your screen.
Hey, Tim, how are you getting some of those higher pitches? Just moving your mouse around?
Yeah, that's me moving the mouse around. It's got a camera, bird's eye type of view. So I've got a wheel on my mouse that allows me to zoom in and out. And then by clicking and dragging, I have the ability to rotate around.
Good. Let's see if we've got it. See if there's any other last minute questions or answers. If they have any support questions and stuff like that, how do they handle that?
Support. Well, I mean, they can reach out to you guys, or they can reach out to support@makewonder.com. I'm going to put that in the chat at makewonder.com. Our support team is awesome. There's not 30 or 40 of them, but the 2-3 people that we have who work support they're the nicest people at work. They generally care, and they're really good about getting back to you. If they don't get back to you in 24 hours, it means they're busy, not that they're blowing you off. They don't do that. So if you get stuck, you can reach out to support. I will put my email address in there as well. If there's something I can help you with, feel free to reach out. And we can, answer any questions you might have. Again, this is free to try. Go to our website, makewonder.com, and look for free trial under Class Connect. It's really not that hard to find. Heck, I can put that in here too. Let me just find it here, free trial.
While you're doing that, is that free trial going to extend to after the holidays because of all the different things going on right now? Do you know that?
I'm not supposed to tell people that, but yeah, they probably are. I mean, why wouldn't they? Right now, most teachers don't know if they're going back before winter break or not. My kids were supposed to go back for 3 days, and then they were going to go on winter break. I'm like, you're not going to school for 3 days. Just stay home. So, I would imagine we did it during COVID before, where we had a 30-day license. We extended to 60 because of the mess we were in. Yep. Depending on how the world turns, yeah, that's a distinct possibility.
What about just one last, just because maybe not everybody knows much about the Wonder League, can you how many kids do you need to have in that? How does that work? Just at a high
I mean, what we recommend, the Coaches Connect pack is for 3 students.
Right.
3 students is a good group for the younger age, most certainly. You can do it from kindergarten to 2nd grade.
Yep.
That younger age, group of 3 is good. When you get to the 3rd grade levels and up, it's almost beneficial to have a few more students, because you're going to have construction. You're going to be building some stuff. You're going to be making your own mat or walls and obstacles and, all kinds of different things that you're going to put together. You got to have a couple of kids who are practicing the code. You got to have a couple of kids who are doing the DIY type of stuff that we expect you to do as well. So sometimes a bigger group. 3 would be a minimum. I wouldn't go above 6 or 7 for a total.
Got it. Perfect. We are a proponent of these virtual tools and virtual robots. I think it's a great way to enter it, especially in these hybrid environments right now. Allow the kids to kind of play a little bit and, you know, and learn without a lot of pressure, to be honest with you. That's what we love. And
it's fun, and you know what we do, and the kids are going to enjoy it. The only warning I give is lock them down. Don't let them do, because there are kids, you know them. Every teacher in there's got one or two kids who, given the coding stuff, they're just going to zoom right through it. They're going to do it all the way to the end, and they're done.
Right.
So, you know, as long as you do that and you prepare your breaks, I mean, it can't be all online all the time. You got to create some projects and a couple of, did you understand what we were doing with the movement? So let's see if you can find your way through this little maze that I put together. You know, practice what you preach. Give the kids some time to show their understanding, because quite honestly, if you put together a really simple maze, you're going to get 20 or 30 different answers for that maze, and most of them are going to work. They may not all work perfectly, but they're going to work. So you'd be surprised, and give it a shot.
It's like sailing, right? You know, there's a lot of different ways to get to that finish line. The start may be the same and the ending may be the same, but there's a lot of different ways to go there. And I think that's the beauty of coding and the trial and error and stuff like that. So,
and the kids will stay with it. They learn perseverance with the product like this. They learn that, oh, I did it wrong again. Who cares? I know what I got to fix. And they don't mind screwing it up, and they keep going. So that's the beauty of it. They learn to fail and fail forward.
Cool. I think that's all the questions in chat that we've got, Tim. You know, on behalf of Eduporium, we did want to thank you, you know, really, really a lot from the bottom of our hearts, you know, for participating in this. And for all the teachers and educators attending, librarians, et cetera, thank you for attending. We know it's a tough, tough world out there. And, you know, we love you. It's a tough world. So thank you very much. A question has coming up, and this is something we've just tried. It's kind of an inaugural thing with webinars, and we love with partners like Wonder Workshop, just great partners. So we will look at, you know, whether we can give some certificate credit or PD. We're not sure how to do that yet. We will look into that. We are PD certified, but we've got to look into it a little closer. And if something does change in that space, we will reach out on the email to kind of talk about that and pass on anything. The other thing is we will release a copy of the recording of this, and any slides that Tim or PDFs that he sent us, we will forward those on too. And on behalf of Eduporium and Wonder Workshop, we want to really thank you today for attending. And if you need anything, sales at Eduporium, and we will get right back to you. And if you need some challenge cards, I know we have about 51 of them in stock.
Absolutely.
So
thank you all.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you guys. Teachers, stay safe out there.
Stay safe, exactly.
Enjoy the holidays. Take care, everybody.
And I like your treat, Tim.
Thanks. Yeah, the holiday spirit. You know?
But I like the little you know, dots you have in the trees. You know,
they make great ornaments.
Yeah. I was looking at it the whole time going, is that really an ornament? So anyways, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.